Alright, hi guys, welcome to week 14, outcome 2. This is on photosynthesis. Before we get to this though, I just want to talk about the next 3 weeks. So the next 3 weeks, you guys, are some of the toughest in biology this year. This week you're going to be learning the process of photosynthesis. Next week, before Thanksgiving, you guys are going to be learning about cellular respiration. When you come back from Thanksgiving, we're going to learn a process called mitosis, which is cell division. Now, these are 3 processes that you have to learn in depth. Okay, so you have to memorize these processes and what's going on. Okay, so I get told every year this is the hardest part. So I just want to warn you guys in advance that not to disengage your brain for the next 3 weeks. After we do mitosis, we'll have the second part of the test for Unit 3. Okay, and then we'll move on to the last unit. Okay, so, just really, guys, I can't stress enough just to really work hard the next couple weeks and learn these processes. All right, so with that, photosynthesis. So photosynthesis is pretty easy when you think about it. It's the process of capturing sunlight energy to make sugar. Okay, but the process itself is quite a bit more sophisticated. And I'm not saying you have to learn it to its most sophisticated level, but we're going to have a good working knowledge of this process. Alright, so let's start off with kind of the bigger picture and we'll narrow down to the specifics you need to know. Alright, so photosynthesis, the basics. Okay, plants take in sunlight in their leaves, water from their roots, and carbon dioxide from the air, and it produces sugar in the form of glucose and oxygen. Okay, so plants breathe in carbon dioxide and they breathe out oxygen. Okay, it's the exact opposite of what we do. Okay, we breathe in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is it's really the opposite process of cellular respiration, which we'll learn about next week. All right, so the equation. Okay, so you guys need to be able to write this down, kind of from memory. Okay, so, really easy to quiz yourself. Take a blank piece of paper, write the equation at the top, okay, cover it, write it below it without looking, and keep doing that until you can get it perfectly 3 times in a row. Okay, so here it is. It's 6 CO2 plus 6 H2O with sunlight yields C6H12O6 plus 6 O2. Okay, so pause the video here, write that down, okay, and there's no 2 ways about it. You have to memorize that formula. Now, the good news is you have to memorize a formula next week also for cellular respiration, but it's the exact same formula, okay? Like I said, photosynthesis is the exact opposite reaction of cellular respiration, so all we do next week is we flip the arrow around. Okay, so learn it now, and you'll know it for next week. Alright, if you want a more graphical formulation to help you memorize it, okay, carbon dioxide plus water plus light energy yields sugar and oxygen. Okay, but again, you guys are going to have to memorize this formula right here. Okay, that will be on the quiz and the test. Alright, now let's start getting into some of the specifics. Okay, again, we're going to start kind of broad, and we're going to narrow it down as we go. Okay, so photosynthesis is actually 2 different reactions. We're going to call them the light reactions and the dark reactions. Okay, these can also be called the light-dependent reactions because they require sunlight, and the dark reactions are called the light-independent reactions because they do not require sunlight. So they can happen when it's cloudy or at night. Okay, the light-dependent reactions have to occur during the day. Alright, so this is on your worksheet. Okay, so you might want to pause this down and take in this information. Okay, again, testable material right here. Alright, so the light-dependent reactions take in light and water. Okay, and through a chemical process, they produce ATP, NADPH, and oxygen. Alright, let's talk about ATP and NADPH for a second. Okay, you guys already previously learned about ATP. It's an energy-carrying molecule. It powers the cell. Okay, NADPH is similar. It it carries energy like a battery. The uncharged battery is NADP. Okay, by adding that hydrogen ion to form NADPH, you charge the battery. Okay, so again, by clicking on hydrogen, you add energy. By taking it off, you release that energy. Okay, same thing as ATP. ATP, there's 2 phosphates. By clicking on a third, you add energy. By clicking it off, you release that energy. Okay, now, in the light-independent reactions, or the dark reactions, you take the ATP and the NADPH you made during the light-dependent reactions. You add in some carbon dioxide, and through another chemical process, you make sugar. Okay, so 2 reactions. You need to know the products and reactants of each, and it's summarized in this diagram. Okay, so take a minute to write this down. Again, it's something you just have to memorize, what goes in and what comes out. Alright, now, this you guys don't have to write down. Okay, I'm just going to go kind of just show you how this works inside the chloroplast. Alright, so in the chloroplast there are these discs called thylakoid discs, and they stack up to form what are called the granums. Again, it's good to know, but I don't think you'll see it on the final or anything like that. Okay, thylakoid discs, okay, and they stack up to form the granums. Okay, inside these thylakoid discs is the chlorophyll. Now, chlorophyll is the pigment that makes plants green. So let's just take a second here to talk about how pigments work. Okay, so a green pigment. So just imagine my hand is green here. Okay, sunlight or the light coming from the light above your head, that has all colors of light in it. Okay, so when that light comes down and it strikes an object, the pigments in the object either absorb or reflect the light. Okay, in the case of a green pigment, it's going to absorb all colors except for the green light. The green light will be reflected off, and that's what my eye picks up. Okay, so when I see a color, what I'm actually seeing is the light being reflected off that object. Okay, now white and black are some exceptions. Okay, so like my black shirt here. What's happening here is the light is striking my shirt, my sweater, and it's absorbing all of the colors, and nothing is being reflected off. So when your eye sees an area that has no light reflecting off of it, it just interprets that as black. Okay, white is the exact opposite. So my white t-shirt here, the light's shining down, and the white pigment is reflecting all the colors. Okay, so when you see something white, that's just saying, oh, all of the colors are coming from that object. Okay, one way you can remember this, since we're in Phoenix, is if you had a white car and a black car in a parking lot parked next to each other. Okay, and you had your choice to get in one of the cars to ride in. Which one would you choose? Okay, well, if you're thinking about just like how hot it is inside during the summer, you'd want to choose the white car. Okay, the black car has been sitting in the parking lot, and all that light has been striking it and it's been absorbed. Okay, so the black car should be much hotter. The white car, the white pigment's reflected off a lot of that light, and so it'll be cooler inside. Okay, so during the summer, if you want to stay cooler, wear white, light-colored clothes because it'll reflect off light and it'll keep you cooler. Okay, so that's how pigments work. It's kind of an important concept when you're talking about plants. All right, so here's the thylakoid disc. It has this pigment in it called chlorophyll. Okay, water enters the thylakoid disc. Okay, now energy from the sun is being absorbed by that chlorophyll, and what's happening is the chlorophyll is splitting the water into hydrogens and oxygens. Okay, now the hydrogens are going to be used, and the oxygen is going to be given off as a byproduct. Okay, so this is where it makes that oxygen for us to breathe. Okay. Now, these hydrogens go to charge up ATP and NADPH. These go into the Calvin cycle. So you take these ATP, NADPH, and carbon dioxide, and through another chemical process, you make glucose. Okay? So again, that's kind of a big picture, and you don't have to memorize this part at all. We're going to talk about these 2 processes in detail right now. Okay, this is just show you what's going on in that chloroplast. Alright, the light reactions. Let me zoom in here so we can see this a little better. Okay, light reactions are also known as the light-dependent reactions. And again, what's happening is we're taking water and sunlight and these uncharged batteries, okay, and through a chemical process, we're going to make oxygen and the charged batteries, NADPH and ATP. Okay, now, this next slide I'm going to show you here, again, don't memorize this. Okay, put down your pencils and just kind of try to get an idea what's going on here. If you go into AP biology, you'll have to memorize this process further. But right now, I just want to give you an idea of what's happening. Okay, on these cycloid membranes, okay, the chlorophyll and these other enzymes are embedded in the membrane itself. So here's the phospholipids, okay, and then there's these proteins kind of embedded in here. Okay, so what's happening here is there are two different chlorophylls, one here and one here. Okay, the first one is taking light energy and it's splitting that water. So here's the water and it's splitting into oxygens and hydrogens. Okay, now there's an electron that's produced here through the photon, and it kind of goes through these different steps, and what happens is that charges up an NADPH. Okay. Again, you don't have to know that right now, but that's what's happening. Okay. Then what's happening is the oxygen is allowed to leave the cycloid membrane. The hydrogens, however, are trapped. Okay. They have a positive charge, so they can't get by these phospholipids, right? Because it has a positive head, so they repel each other. So you get an increasing concentration of hydrogen ions. Okay, now down the line here, there's another enzyme called ATP synthase. This is going to allow those hydrogens to leave. Okay, so it's going to flow out through diffusion, facilitate diffusion. But when it does this, this actually looks like a little motor if you look at it under a microscope. And when the hydrogen leaves, it turns this motor. Okay, and this motor is actually what kind of snaps on that phosphate to the ADP to form ATP. Okay, so by making a higher hydrogen ion gradient, concentration gradient here, okay, we're going to capture some energy from that. Okay, and that's really what's going on. The guys who figured this out got a Nobel Prize back in the 60s. Okay, so it's extraordinarily complex, and again, you don't have to know it now, but I do want you to kind of have an idea of what's going on. Okay, so that is the light reactions. Okay, so we're taking in light and water, splitting that water, and we're making oxygen, ATP, and NADPH. The oxygen is released, and the NADPH and ATP come over to the dark reactions. Okay, now the dark reactions are also known as the light-independent reactions or the Calvin cycle. Okay, now again, the Calvin cycle is just something you're going to have to memorize. Okay, so you should be able to diagram this out without looking. Okay, you don't know it well enough, you can't take a blank piece of paper and diagram the whole thing correctly. Okay, so how I would do this is I would have my sheet where I know it's correct. I would place it face down on the desk, take a blank sheet of paper, diagram it the best I can, and then compare to the one I know it's correct. Okay, and then correct it, get a new piece of paper, and keep doing it until you can get it 3 times perfect. Okay, you just have to memorize this process. Alright, so here it is, and I'll go through it a couple times for you. Alright, okay, so get a piece of paper, take a deep breath. Again, this is one of the most complicated things you're going to learn this semester. Okay, so just take it for what it is, and let's go through it. Alright, so it starts off with this molecule called RUBP, or it's called Rubisco. Okay, and what this is, it's a 5-carbon chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. Okay, and we're going to start off with 6 of these. Okay, so counting the carbons here is a little bit important. Okay, so we have 6 5-carbon chains. So we have a total of, we're going to start off with 30 carbons. Okay, 6 5-carbon chains, which are Rubisco. Now, to these Rubiscos, we're going to add a carbon in the form of CO2. Okay, so we're going to add 6 carbons. And what happens is each of these carbons gets added onto the 5-carbon chain to make a 6-carbon chain. The 6-carbon chain is big and floppy, and it immediately breaks into 3-carbon chains. Okay, so we're going to have 12. They're called PGAs. Okay, a PGA is a 3-carbon chain with single bonds. Okay, now remember, chemical bonds store energy. Okay, so we have single bonds here. Okay, so just doing the math to count the carbons, we have 12 of these things, which are 3 carbon chains. So 12 times 3 is 36. Okay, we start off with 30 plus 6 is 36. Okay, so we have all our carbons accounted for here. Now, to these PGAs, we're going to add that ATP and that NADPH that we made during the light-dependent reactions. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to charge these things up and give them double bonds. Okay, so we're going to take PGA, we're going to add energy to it, and increase the bonding. Okay, and so we're going to make 12 what are called P-gals. Okay, a P-gal is just a 3-carbon chain with a double bond. Okay, so again, let's count our carbons. Okay, 12 times 3, okay, is 36. Now, at this point, we have 12 of these. 2 of them are going to drop out and combine to form a 6-carbon chain. Okay, and that is your sugar. That's your glucose. Glucose C6H12O6. Okay, so here it is right here. So we're subtracting 6 carbons. Okay, the other 10 remaining P-gals, okay, we're going to add a little bit of energy to them, and we're going to recycle them back to 5-carbon chains, this Rubisco. Okay, so we had 30 carbons, remember, because 2 fell out, 30 minus 6 is 30, and then here we are, back at 30 carbons. Okay, 6 Rubisco. And that's the whole process. Okay, again, really fast, we started off with Rubisco, which is a 5-carbon chain. To this, we add CO2. We add an extra carbon to make a 6-carbon chain that's floppy, and it immediately breaks into 3-carbon chains called PGA. Okay, these are 3-carbon chains with single bonds. To this, we're going to add ATP and NADPH. We're going to charge up those bonds to make double bonds. Okay, so we're going to have a 3-carbon chain with double bonds called P-gal. 2 P-gals are going to drop out to form glucose, a 6-carbon chain. The other 10 P-gals are going to be recycled back to make Rubisco. Okay, that's it. Okay, it's complicated, but with a little bit of practice, you guys can get it down and diagram this accurately and hopefully understand what's going on. Okay, so if you need to watch that again, rewind and watch it as many times as you need to get that down. All right, the essential questions. Okay, so let me just kind of zoom in here. All right, so what role does chlorophyll play in photosynthesis? Okay, chlorophyll is a pigment. It's what's capturing the sunlight that's entering the leaf. Okay, it's absorbing all colors except for green. Okay, this light energy is reflecting green back to our eye. That's why leaves look green. Okay, what is the chemical formula of photosynthesis? Okay, so again, we take 6 CO2 plus H2O and sunlight. Okay, and through a chemical process, we produce C6H12O6 plus 6O2. Okay, and you guys just have to know that. That should be able to roll off your tongues. What are the products and reactants? Okay, the products are the glucose, C6H12O6, and the oxygen. The reactants are the water, the carbon dioxide, and the sunlight. Okay. Okay, light-dependent reactions. So now we're going to break it into the two reactions. Okay, light-dependent reactions take the water and the sunlight, and it produces oxygen and ATP and NADPH. The oxygen is given off the atmosphere. The ATP and NADPH go into the light-dependent reactions, okay, along with CO2, and it makes glucose. Okay, how does the Calvin cycle produce sugar? Okay, we take Rubisco, you add carbon dioxide to that to make a 6-carbon chain. It breaks into 2 3-carbon chains, okay, called PGA. We add energy to the PGA to make double bonds to make P-gal. 2 P-gals fall out to make sugar, okay, a glucose. The other P-gals are recycled back to make the Rubisco. Okay, and that's the cycle, so it repeats over. As long as you keep feeding carbon dioxide, ATP, and NADPH, the Calvin cycle will keep going. Okay, so the plant can just kind of warehouse or store a bunch of ATP and NADPH during the day. Okay, and then all through the night it can do this process. because it's light independent. Alright, you guys, I know I just threw a lot at you, okay, so feel free to go back and watch any part of the video that you need. Again, call or text me with any questions. Okay, I want to help you, but I can't help you if you don't seek me out. Okay, so please, look back at that syllabus and my phone number is on it. All right, guys, take care. Good luck on the quiz this week. The quiz is due by next Wednesday. Okay, you have Thursday and Friday off. Okay, so you have to finish that test before you leave for Thanksgiving. All right, good luck, guys. Thank you very much.